You are Locked On Astros Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Is this real life? Are we talking about 2 consecutive wins for your Houston Astros? Yes, we are on the Locked On Astros Postcast right here on the Locked On Network. Thank you for joining us live on YouTube. Of course, you can find this show in audio form wherever you get your podcast as well. Search Locked On Astros, and you can find the Locked On Astros Postcast. Is the Stros, are they back? That is the question that we lead with today. Plenty to discuss throughout this postcast. Thank you to all of you joining us, of course. And in the last segment of the show, if you want to start sending them in now, pepper away with the questions in the comments. We'll get to questions and comments in the final few minutes of this show as well today. We're going to try and do this on Sundays when the Astros wrap up games. This episode today is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. So the Stros today busting out the bats for the second day in a row. And you want to know where I want to start with all this? And now look, final score ends up being 8-5. It's like the first game of this series where the Astros got rocked and then they got some runs late in the baseball game. You don't care about those runs late in the baseball game. I do not care that Seth Martinez gave up a 3-run jack. You want to know why? Because the game was already in hand. I don't like that they had to bring in Josh Hader, to get one out, but Hader probably isn't too mad about it. He gets a save for it. The Astros, though, had that game in hand, and Seth Martinez has been run down of late, like to the point where you worry that his arm is falling off. So I kind of expected him to not come in and look too sharp in that moment. So I'm not going to sit here and worry about that one bit. But I'm going to give the Astros a lot of credit for 2 consecutive days. They scored 9 runs on Saturday. They scored 8 runs today. And you know why I'm giving them credit? Not because the offense busted out, did their thing, looked like the Astros that we all know and love. It's because they did something that we always know that they shouldn't do, hit the 10-plus run barrier. The last 2 days they've avoided it, and guess what? Instead of coming back today and having nothing at the plate, they came out and they scored 8 runs because they only scored 9 the day before. So props to those guys. Just avoid 10 at all costs. 9 or 8, take it every single time. Don't want 10. Obviously, Jose Altuve leading the charge, a couple of home runs. We're going to talk about him extensively for segment 2 here in a few minutes because he's just so freaking great. Clutch situations, though, across the board today, whether it was Dubon, whether it was McCormick, whether it was Carantini. There was a lot of guys that chipped in for this victory today. And then on top of it all, you see what happens. Now, this is the case for every single Major League Baseball team. But this team right now in their state that they are in, which, again, I jokingly, make these titles for these shows that you see. And you see the banner up there. Are the Astros back? They're not back yet. The answer is no. They're still 6-11. They're 5 games under 500. They have to get back to 500 before I start using yes, the Astros are back. But signs of life. Positive steps forward from where they've been. It matters. You have to do these things every single day to eventually be back. Now they're really going to be tested because the last 2 days, they've had their 2 best starting pitchers pitch. And that being Ronel Blanco and Christian Javier today. And both those guys went out and gave this team exactly what they needed. 6 innings yesterday out of Blanco, 7 innings today out of Christian Javier. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a greater gift from the baseball gods than that because the Astros starting pitching in the past series against the Royals and then against the Rangers as well last weekend, they couldn't make it into any part of the game. So that was huge. Absolutely huge. But they're going to be tested now by the guys that aren't Javier, that aren't Blanco. Spencer Arrighetti goes tomorrow. We'll talk about the Braves series towards the end of the show. Can they step up and make something of their outings? Can they go out there and, can they go out there and not just get slapped around and force the bullpen to cover 6, 7, 8 innings of a baseball game? Because if you can't do that, guess what's going to end up happening, of course? You're going to lose. I mean, it's just that simple. When you're the team that's being able to put pressure on the opponent every day when you go out there, then you're going to be able to get victories. We've seen it with the other teams. Like Kansas City did to them in that series. I still cannot believe that Kansas City series. It's just mind-blowing to me. But I prefer today to choose the positive on a beautiful Sunday. As soon as we get done here, guess where I'm going? Right to the couch. We got Masters golf to watch. I tried juggling both today. Don't spoil it in the comments. Again, if you're watching live, send in your questions and comments in the comments section. In the last segment, we're going to try and do this on Sundays. We're going to call it the Sunday mailbag. Screw Monday mailbags. Sunday mailbag. We'll do it in the last segment of the show. So send them in, questions or comments in that section right now, and we'll get to them before the show is over today. But they got the victory that they needed. They had a big weekend. They needed to respond in the worst way. And you know what? With the way that they came out and played Friday night, and again, the score ended up being 12-8. It ended up being a closer game than it was on paper. I was a little bit worried that they would roll over and die this weekend to an extent. Now, they got a little bit lucky in timing, which, look, that's baseball. That's sports. At times you have to be have some luck involved. The Rangers are down bad with some of their injuries right now. And that's okay. But that's also why so much of this is so frustrating at this very moment. To have this record, to be 6-11, because if you could build now in April and not have to dig yourself out of a hole in May, because, I mean, at this point, it's April the 14th. Okay, they're 5 games under 500. They're not going to, in all likelihood, they're not going to reel off the next 5. They're playing Atlanta for the next 3. They're probably not beating Atlanta for 3 straight games. It's okay. But let's just say, optimistically, in the next week and a half, they're back at 500. Or in the next 2 weeks, they're back at 500. That's the end of April. And then you're in May, and you got to build on that. It would have been nicer to have the cushion. And then when this Rangers team that you're playing right now, build some sort of a lead on them in the division and not have to worry about it so much or be in a dogfight for it later. Beggars can't be choosers. I completely get it. As long as the Astros figure it out, play better baseball consistently, which we've seen out of them for the last 2 days, it's okay. Get back to being yourself. Be a postseason baseball team. Win the American League West, whatever it might be. And I won't care about this rough stretch in April once we get there. Yeah, it's made me mad as hell. It made me on Friday night come on this show and air it out for Reggie Jackson's comments and the way that the organization has been run and why they've created so many of these issues that they have themselves. But good news is they have again responded and played better baseball for 2 consecutive days, and it has to start there. It is the baby steps. And something we haven't even highlighted from yesterday's game to today's game, they're scoring at home in these games. Can you believe that? I mean, look, they even lost Friday. They've scored 8, 9, and 8 runs at Minute Maid Park in 3 consecutive games. What world is this? I'm telling you, I don't think it's real. I think we're living in some sort of simulation right now because the Astros scoring runs at home, that doesn't exist. But it did exist today. It existed yesterday. It existed Friday. And let's hope, for all of our sanity, it continues against the Atlanta Braves. You go from one team that you don't like to another team that you did not like for a very long period of time. Team that beat you in the World Series in 2021. I'm not even mad about that World Series still. I'm mad about losing World Series, sure, but like of all the World Series, that one's the most forgettable one. I think it's just because we probably didn't have a lot of expectations of that team getting there that year. And they did. And they went to 6 games. It still sucks. There's nothing about it that was fun. But let's go ahead and, you know what, seek a little revenge this weekend. Why not? I know they've played since then, but that's okay. Seek a little revenge. They got their revenge by winning it the next year in 2022. But still, I'll never get mad if you take it to the Atlanta Braves at all. We're going to talk Jose Altuve in just a quick second because Jose Altuve is a legend, and we're watching this legend be as locked in as anybody right now in the entire sport. Altuve in just a second. Right now, I want to tell you about PrizePicks. They're, of course, bringing you this episode today. And if you have not made your sporting events more fun with PrizePicks, I should say, then what are you doing? You're living without PrizePicks, you're not enjoying sports. It's over-unders on games. It's more or less, basically, when you go in there with the players, you pick your players. You can play one player. You can play multiple players. You can play across multiple sports. It is a lot of fun. Maybe you're like me. You got some action going on the Masters right now. You had a couple of Astros players today. It is something that is making games more enjoyable. They're already enjoyable. Have a little edge on it. Make a little bit of money on it. You watch the Astros every day. You know who's swinging the bat well. You think you should be playing anything but the more on Jose Altuve right now? You bet you know what you should be. And I think I'll be doing that every day moving forward with PrizePicks. As I mentioned, baseball season officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePick entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. Get in on playoff action with the NBA coming up and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Of course, it's getting ready to start April 20th with the play-in rounds coming up on the 16th, 17th, and 19th. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks apps today and use that code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. It is the Locked On Astros Postcast. Thank you for joining us live on YouTube. Locked On Sports Houston is the YouTube page. If you are new to the page, as always, I mention, please hit the subscribe button. I will greatly appreciate it. I appreciate how many of you have hit it so far. I'm not going to lie to you. When you start doing something from scratch with no following to it at all on the internet, something I've never done before, because on the radio that we've done post-game shows for years, we always had your normal set-in following. All of you joining me here, it has been awesome, and I've loved it, and I'm appreciative of it because it has grown quickly, and I want us to keep going with it. We're going to keep doing this every single day. I know that a lot of you have enjoyed me doing post-game shows for a long time, and I do when I tell you that. I absolutely appreciate it that you trust me to talk Astros baseball after a game, especially when they win. We have something enjoyable to talk about. Also, go ahead and listen to the Locked On Astros podcast. When you search anywhere that you get podcasts, Locked On Astros, you can get those guys, their podcast. You can get this podcast there as well. This is usually up within about 15 minutes after the show. And then again, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube page. And if you're live on YouTube right now and you want to get in questions or comments, we will get to them in the final few minutes of the postcast today. So that's coming up shortly. So send those in, hit the comments section, and we'll get to all of them in just a bit. But the Stros with a big win today, 8-5, and they're led by the man, the myth, the legend that is Jose Altuve. And Jose Altuve is as locked in as he can get at the plate right now. I just cannot believe at times how awesome he is. He is about to be 34 years old, which, there's a lot of guys out there that will slow down. He's showing no signs of it. I really thought last year when he came back from his injuries, which he dealt with, way more than he would have wanted to deal with. One of them completely fluky, of course, getting hit on the hand in the World Baseball Classic, breaking the thumb, dealt with some other stuff throughout the year, missed a little bit of time. But he didn't play a lot of games last year, but he swung the bat so well when he did play last season. And he just crushed the baseball left and right. And, he's faced Nate Eovaldi a lot in his career. He's had a lot of big moments against him, and those continue today. 2 more home runs against him. Just unbelievable how much he has his number overall. I think it's like 8 or 9 career home runs against Eovaldi now. It's unbelievable. He's up to 34 or 35 lifetime home runs against the Texas Rangers, which is fantastic. we appreciate greatness when we see it, and it's early in the season. It's been a little bit tough to maybe completely appreciate anything because of how bad the Astros have been overall. Last 2 days, though, are a reminder of when you have the good moments with certain guys, whether it's him, whether it's Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker. Hopefully Alex Bregman comes back from being sick, plays like the great Alex Bregman that we all want him to play like. Yainer Diaz doing his thing now at times, whoever it might be. Justin Verlander when he's on the mound. I always try to remind myself, because we do live in this crazy, fast-paced, world. We're always distracted by whatever it is, to take time like during these games and just remember at some point, Jose Altuve will not play for the Astros. Jose Altuve will retire from baseball. And he still has a long way to go to get the overall career numbers that he is trying to achieve, which is 3,000 hits. Very much in play. If his health stays with him, he'll probably get it during this contract, or at least be very close to where he'd probably need to sign a 1-year deal. And look, at that stage, at 40, 41 years old, will Altuve be this good? No. It's very unlikely. I don't have any doubt, though, that this guy is going to hit late into his 30s. His bat-to-ball skills are better than most guys. He can hit anything, anywhere, anytime. We've seen it. And as the years have gone along, he has done an even better job of putting things together, of being a legit power threat. I mean, he is the team leading home runs, team leading hits, 26, 27 hits already on the season. The way that he's playing, and again, this is in 16 games the team has played this season, the way that he is setting this up, he is setting himself up for a campaign of being in the MVP race based off the way that he is going right now. Of course, he is going to hit stretches where he stinks like everybody else does. It's baseball. It will happen. But I truly do believe, for as great as he's been in the years past, this right now, and I think it comes with age and everything, and you mature as a hitter. I just think he's the best version of himself that we have probably ever seen. And we're talking about arguably one of the two best postseason players in the history of the sport. I know that Jeff Bagwell's in the booth. We've talked about Jeff Bagwell the last few days. I think Altuve passed him a while ago. I think it's no doubt that he's the best player in franchise history. The numbers will eventually be there. I mean, he's got to be creeping up on 200 home runs at this point. He's probably going to end up being a 300 home run guy, 350 maybe at max. He's going to have a career batting average that's over 300. He's going to have 3,000 hits. He's going to have more All-Star appearances than any Astro in the history of the franchise. He'll get past that number this year. He's at 214 home runs. I mean, look, he's been averaging at least 25 home runs a year pretty much since he started this power surge, when he figured out how to be a power hitter and not just a singles hitter. And I think people wonder, like, how does this little guy do? It's all about leverage. It's all about bat speed. It's all about the angle at which you attack the baseball. He's just so good, and he's so compact, and he's so quick with it. That's why he has as much power as a big guy. Now, he's not hitting a 480-foot home run like Jordan Alvarez is going to hit, of course, but that's why he can just crush the baseball the way that he does. He attacks the baseball better than anybody else. And again, I try to remind myself to appreciate the greatness that he is. Because again, he'll be 34 next month. And there are fewer years left. I know he just signed the 5-year extension. There are fewer years left than the years that we've experienced. This is year, I believe, 13 for Jose Altuve. He is so good. And I remember watching his first game. And you heard about him in the minor league system because he was just tearing the cover off the ball, whether it was at Lancaster, and then he got to Corpus Christi, and he was just crushing the baseball all over the yard. And they call him up from Double-A, and I'm like, the Astros weren't any good at this point. He's just another guy. He wasn't just another guy. And he's told the story before about how he was supposed to be the guy that came up and went back down a few weeks later, but he hit himself into playing. And he wasn't so good his second season up in the big leagues. He was just okay. And then he really started to take off. And I mean, there's never going to be a day where I don't enjoy watching him play. And if you've ever had the chance to talk to him or be around him at all, he is genuinely the happiest person, the nicest person you will probably ever be around. He just is a joy. He genuinely loves his sport. His story we all know, coming from, nothing and being in Venezuela and being turned away from the Astros tryout a couple of days in a row and then showing back up and being offered like $15,000 and taking it to, he's going to leave the game as the only, and this could be past one day, of course, but the only second baseman in the history of the sport to earn, before taxes, of course, over $300 million. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But that's how good he is. And for all the noise that he gets, and I think it's sad. I really do think it's sad. But when you're the franchise icon and you're the face of the franchise, and the Astros did tote him out there in front of the microphone in spring training that year for the sign stealing stuff that he didn't have anything to do with because he didn't want anything to do with it. Now, I shouldn't say he didn't have anything to do with it. He was in the clubhouse, but he didn't utilize it because he hated it. And he wears it, or the stupid buzzer theory, whatever it might be, because some Yahoo named John Boy on the internet decided to create a fake internet story. Honestly, I don't know how Jose Altuve didn't sue the guy, to be completely honest with you. I would have. It was all just junk. He doesn't need anything. He never needed anything. He just goes out there and flat out hits every single day. And it's awesome to watch. Another 3 hits today. And you could just see, when he's going good, when he's going bad, and everything about him right now just exudes the baseball looks like a beach ball to this man up there at the plate. And if you've ever played baseball, you know that when you get into that zone, man, it's fun. And let's just hope that he can, and I don't even say hope, I feel pretty confident in it, that he'll continue this ride throughout the entire Major League season. We're going to get to the Braves series as we look ahead. Again, if you'd like to send in any questions in the comments, we'll get to some questions as well before we get to the end of this show. The Locked On Astros Postcast continues in just a moment. But right now, I want to tell you about the GameTime app. Were you going down to Minute Maid Park today without tickets, without a plan? Your thought was, hey, I'll just get last-minute tickets. And you went to some website, some popular one, and there were a ton of crazy deals, or a ton of crazy prices, I should say, that weren't really deals. Well, I have a new app for you to go and use, and that is the GameTime app. You can go out there and get yourself the best prices last minute for whatever it is with the GameTime app. If you'd like to look it up on your computer right now, gametime.co is the spot to go and do that. But you can absolutely have a better ticket buying experience when it comes to going and watching the Astros compared to any other website. Plain and simple. Browse through that GameTime app right now. Check out everything that they have. They have all the big high-profile events as well, and they will get you there to that event. As I mentioned, last-minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever it is that you're looking for. Save even more with flash deals with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. It's just a great place to go and do it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the GameTime app with code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. That's code FIRSTPITCH for $20 off from March 25th through today only. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Okay, our final few minutes of the Locked On Astros postcast. And thank you to every single one of you that is watching live, that has hit subscribe on the YouTube page, that has watched these videos after they're done as well. I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button on that YouTube page if you are new to it as well. And you'll get all of our content. Locked On has you covered for all your teams, all the Houston teams, from the Astros to the Rockets to the Texans to the Cougs as well. And speaking of the Cougs basketball, they got a big-time transfer yesterday from Oklahoma. So the Cougs looking like they're going to be good again this year. But we've got you covered for it all, from the Locked On Astros guys to the Locked On Rockets podcast, Locked On Texans, Locked On Cougs. You can check those out. Daily podcasts for you, Monday through Friday. Just search for them wherever you get your podcast. And on each of those individual pages, you will be able to find these shows where it will just be titled Postcast up there every single day. If you miss it at all and you want to listen to it in your car, and you don't need to be watching a YouTube video while you're driving, so just listen to it again. Wherever you get your podcast, search for the Locked On Astros podcast, and you'll find this postcast on their page. And again, YouTube, hit the subscribe button. So the Braves coming to town now for the Astros this week, and I mentioned it earlier. There's something about playing the Braves still to this day. Given their history of the past in the National League, where the Braves forever did their thing against the Astros finally got past them a couple of times in 04 and 05, and it would take all the way until 2021 where those two franchises would meet up again. Now, these two teams in different spots. Of course, the Braves have been, the Braves this season. They've had, maybe some issues kind of holding on to some leads at times. They did beat the Marlins today 9-7, so they're 9-5 on the year coming into this one. They've lost Spencer Strider. Their pitching matchup for the start of this series tomorrow, I mentioned it earlier, but it's going to be Spencer Arrighetti up against, they actually just announced that Darius Vines is going to go for the Braves in that one. He's only made 2 career big league starts, so hopefully he's going to struggle tomorrow against the Astros, the 25-year-old. But they're a difficult team with their lineup that is absolutely loaded. I think if the Astros and the Braves and the Dodgers are full strength and you put lineups together, those are the 3 best lineups in baseball. And then there's probably the Yankees and Rangers right behind those 2 teams. And the Orioles. I can't forget the Orioles as well. There's a lot of great loaded lineups in this league, and the Braves might be up there better than anybody. I mean, Acuna is a big deal. Albies, Riley at third base, Olsen at first base. There'll be a problem. And Arrighetti tomorrow. We've talked about how great it was for the Astros to get great starts, lengthy starts out of Blanco yesterday and out of Javier today. I mean, look, Arrighetti had a good start to his big league career the other day with the first couple of innings, and then inning 3 got there and it blew up 7 runs, went south quickly, and the Astros were spinning once again and having to cover a ton of innings out of the bullpen. Now, you did have to use Seth Martinez today, or they did use Seth Martinez today, so when you get into those kind of situations tomorrow, you've used Brandon Bielak. It's like they really can't afford to have Spencer Arrighetti go out there and go short tomorrow. But they if that were to happen, they'd be in a big bad spot, and he might have to wear it a little bit. And it's just not, for as much as you might be intrigued by his stuff and hopefully what he's going to become, there's no reason to be overly excited about Spencer Arrighetti having to face that loaded Braves lineup. Kind of like this Rangers series, if you can find a way to take 2 of 3, I'll be pleased. Coming into this week or this 6-game homestand, I was very concerned about this team getting out of this homestand with a record of anything better than like 2-4. Well, good news, they've already got 2. Now, just don't go and lose the next 3. That would be less than ideal for the Astros to go and do that. They're going to go Arrighetti tomorrow, as I mentioned, then Hunter Brown. I mean, look, he's been god-awful as well. Him against this lineup is not an encouraging one. Then J.P. France, who was horrendous in his last start. So this is going to be a big time for these guys to prove that there's not a reason that one of them shouldn't be getting kicked out of the rotation very soon, because Justin Verlander is coming. He's expected to start on the road trip against the Washington Nationals. Results last night weren't great with Double-A Corpus Christi up in Frisco. The defense didn't help him up there, but he got out there, he got his feet wet again, and he is going to be joining that Astros rotation here very soon. So we'll see, of course, what happens this week when they're taking on the Braves. We'll be with you post-cast for these games as well, as we are every single day. Thank you for joining us live on the YouTube page. Again, if you're new, hit subscribe, share the videos with everybody that you know, share the page with everybody that you know. I really do appreciate it. And then search for Locked On Astros. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find these postcasts every single day. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm going right back to that couch to watch the Masters. We'll talk to you tomorrow after Astros and Braves.